All right, everybody, welcome. It's Saturday, July 19th, 2025 at about 9:50 a.m. Eastern Time. It is 7:50 in the morning here in Costa Rica. My kids get me up bright and early, so let's go ahead and jump into the week ahead analysis for all the major futures markets. I'm going to go ahead and post this on YouTube because I want to share it with the broader trading community, give you guys an idea of how Vol Pro Edge works. We've been having some incredible success, super blessed, lots and lots of members getting payouts using Vol Pro Edge, using the methodology. It's super exciting. So I want to share it with you guys. It's a very straightforward system to understand once you go through the course, learn how to use the indicators, and understand the logical, sequential nature of how to connect the different types of trading, the key patterns, all the little dots and lines. The dots are called DMLs, dynamic market levels. They're really, really powerful support and resistance levels across multiple time frame analysis. It's really cool. So I suggest you check it out if you haven't already done so. We got a lot of new members jumping on, which is cool. So yeah, we'll get into the analysis here in just a moment in terms of what we expect. I had a good week. I put in $5,000 in payouts with Top Step. I'm still waiting on 2K to hit my account, but the other 3K hit very, very fast. So maybe that last 2K kind of got lost in the mix. Sometimes that happens, and then you got to wait 10 business days because that is their official policy, and then you got to contact them. So that might happen this time. It's happened to me before. Sometimes you fall through the cracks. So if that's happened to you, don't worry about it. You just got to reach out to them, and they do make it right. Top Step's great. They pay fast. Everything's fantastic. What else? With my Tradeify growth funded accounts, 150K, 5 of them, I made $43,000 in profit this week. So I just started those on Monday, finished the week with 43K. So it's about, I don't know, 8.5K per account times 5. And those are funded. So I'm quite close to the first payout now on those 5 funded accounts. That would be my third payout with Tradeify. I've gotten 2 before with other accounts. I think that those were SIMDA funded, but to be honest, I can't really remember. Anyways, these are the growth accounts. I'm excited about that because once I take that first payout for $2,500 times 5 accounts, right, $12,500, it's only going to knock my balance down by $2,500 on each account. And since I'm building those balances up to be quite large, I'm still going to have very large balances in those accounts after I take the first payout, which is going to make it a lot easier to get the next payout, the third payout, the fourth payout. So hopefully over the next couple months, I can make 50 grand in payouts off of these Tradeify growth funded accounts, which is really, really cool. These particular accounts, I bought the first batch for $1,100, and then you can reset them for $197. So I reset them once for $1,000 for the batch because that's 5 accounts. I passed them on that reset. So I'm into these for $2,000. So if I can, get 12 grand on my first payout and then, 15 grand on my second payout and 18 grand on my third payout, that's a really good return on my money. Not to mention that, it's a lot of fun. When you make money, you have more fun. When trading is working like it does with Vol Pro Edge, trading is fun, right? So anyways, those are a few of the updates. We'll start doing some more stuff for the YouTube channel. I got a lot of people asking me to post more public stuff, so I'll do that as well. In addition to sharing this with you guys that usually is only for Vol Pro Edge members. I post this inside the members area every weekend, analyzing the markets for the upcoming week ahead, and then do the same thing every single day right around the daily close saying, okay, well, what was our forecast for yesterday? For the current day that just closed, we said this, and this. How did it play out? It usually plays out pretty spot on. And then what do we expect for the next day? Where are the key levels? What's the key directional bias? Which markets to stay away from? All these things, guys, are worth their weight in gold because it's not just about the money that you make in trading. It's first about stopping the hemorrhaging, stopping the losing, stopping the paper cuts, or just the brute force trauma losses, that cause your accounts to blow up, right? So if you've got, number one, a system that works like Vol Pro Edge with an edge, a real edge, lots of real edges that you can use in multiple time frames. If you're a scalper, day trader, longer term trader, whatever you want, you can set it up to use it the way you want to use it. But you got to have an edge, but then you've also got to have a plan every day and come into the trading day following your plan. Not enough people do that, right? Too many people are just kind of waking up, doing their thing, and they wonder why they keep losing. They don't have a system, number one, or they do have a system, but it doesn't have an edge. They don't prepare, plan their day. And then even if they do a little bit of preparing and planning, they don't follow their plan. They don't trade their plan. And even if they do trade their plan, they don't journal afterwards. What happened? What can I learn from? All these little steps are necessary to get really good at trading and start taking big payouts with the prop firm. So I hope that helps. Lots of people lots of members are starting to really do that now. Even in the beginning, some of the members, I was like, guys, you got to do this, and this. It's not going to be given to you on a silver platter, right? And now that people are starting to follow that guidance and really listen to what's being said, they're getting payouts, which is awesome. I'm super pumped about everything going on. All right, so there's the intro tangent, but all important stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into the analysis. You can see we're looking at the Vol Pro Edge indicators on TradingView. We've got them for Sierra charts and soon NinjaTrader. We're almost done with NinjaTrader. Jonas, my programmer, is hopefully going to be done with those quite soon. He is getting married right now. I can't remember what day his wedding is on, but it's very soon. So that's why we're having a slight delay. But, people got to get married sometimes. So congratulations to Jonas. All right. So looking at ES here, what we can see is that last week was, kind of a mess. You had congestion trading. We call congestion trading. This is range bound trading, right? So you're between the top and bottom part of the range. And we forecasted this with the strong congestion support level on the daily because of all this strong weekly support level here. And because the monthly is breaking through these resistance levels here, these little yellow dots, they're very important. The monthly's breaking them. We're pushing higher. In fact, if you look at NVIDIA, a chart of NVIDIA on TradingView with Vol Pro Edge, you already see that NVIDIA has this same exact pattern, except we're already up here. So NVIDIA is already leading what we think is going to happen in the broader S&P 500, the ES. So, yeah, pretty cool to be able to make, $43,000 on my Tradeify growth funded accounts on a week like this, where it was pretty choppy. Just staying on the right side, really. I traded from the long side most of the week. One day I had a good short in there. I think it might have been on this day. I can't remember. But yeah, just if you have the right side of the market and you've got a methodology that works and gives you key levels, good patterns, you can use your intraday charts into your higher time frame trades. Once you get used to it, it's really not a big deal, right? You'll just start making money, which is, like I said, a lot of fun. All right, so what do we expect for the upcoming week? Well, since the monthly, this is how I always do it, right? I say, well, I want all these time frames to be in line with each other, right? This is what I teach in the course. This is what we constantly harp on in the members area. This is what we talk about in the day ahead analysis every day. This is what I talk about in the live market commentary channel, where I tell you what I'm seeing live intraday in a special channel in the members area in the chat. Say, hey guys, this is what I'm doing right before the open. I recommend, again, according to the day ahead analysis, staying on this side of the market, look for these key levels, and I'm updating my thoughts in there. So all these little things are helping you guys stay on the right side of the market, right? And it starts with the higher time period. What is, in this case, the monthly chart doing? Well, it's pushing higher, right? So we're breaking through all this. I expect to close the month on ES somewhere up here around 6,400, maybe 65 if we get there. I'm not really sure. What would be the catalyst for this? I don't know. We can speculate, but we don't need to. We can just look at the charts, right? Maybe institutional buying. I know that the institutions and the CTAs are a little late to the party, the commodity trading advisors. This has all been retail driven so far. So at some point, the institutions are going to jump in and probably start to push this thing higher, right? And retail is going nuts. At some point, this is going to end, ugly for retail when they're buying the top. But for now, it looks very, very early. I'm talking about long-term investor guys, not day traders like us or swing traders. So we're still very early in this move, in my view. I've looked at the quarterly charts, the yearly charts. We've still got some room to go. And if that changes, we'll adjust because we have multiple time period analysis. We have our pulse. We can get the pulse of the market every day based on what the daily chart is doing, into the weekly chart, in the monthly chart, et cetera. And then intraday, you got your volume-based intraday charts, or you've got your hourly chart, your 15-minute chart, your 5-minute chart. If you're that kind of a trader, scalping in and out, you can use it wherever you want to use it. So using the higher time period here, with a monthly pushing higher, Well, the weekly is in a trend run up, right? We have classifications, definitions for all these types of things that we talk about in the course and go over every single day. Me using what I'm teaching in the course, I use it in the day ahead analysis, the week ahead analysis, like you're seeing right now. So everything that I teach, I use, right? So, and it's a lot more structured than, oh, there's a bull flag, take it. No, no, no. We have definitions and rules for the different types of trading, the patterns, the different DMLs, what do they mean, the combinations, right? Picking off our key levels and key direction with the market. So with the weekly chart here firing to the upside in a trend run, well, all we have to do is say, okay, do we expect the weekly to roll over like this next week? No. Why? Because the monthly is very bullish right now, breaking through all of this resistance here at the top. So if the monthly's bullish, could the weekly just, open and flush? Of course. Trump could start tweeting, hey, we're going to do a 6,000% tariff on God knows what else. Yeah, of course, anything's possible, but you've got to look at the probabilities. The probabilities are that we're going to push higher. The weekly trend run is going to continue, right? And where are the DMLs? Well, they're right in here. Look at the cluster of all these DMLs, the middle of the Vol Pro Edge envelope, the green dots here. You've got all that right there. So that's your first super key level of support. Sure, if we break that, we could go down here. Look at this cluster. These are your clusters. These are the areas you want to focus on, right? So these are the areas where if the daily pulls back, these are the weekly areas overlaid onto the daily chart over here that you want to watch for key daily DMLs, clusters of daily DMLs, daily patterns, all of that. So once you learn how to use it, I promise you, it's actually very, very simple and makes way more sense than looking at a candlestick chart. I don't know how people, once you get out of candlesticks and get into Vol Pro Edge, yeah, it is a learning curve, takes a couple months, but once you get over the hump, you're going to look back at candlesticks and go, how in the hell did I ever read any of that? I mean, mind boggling. And we got a lot of people, guys. Go to the website, volproedge.com. Look at the testimonials. You'll see what people are saying. Come into the Discord. You can join the link below the video. Go join the Discord. We got a free part where you can hang out, chat with people. We got great people in the Discord. And, people after taking the course and, you get the reinforcement of Vol Pro Edge on what you're learning every day in my videos, where I use what you're learning to analyze the markets. And that helps you get it, right? It's just pounding it into your head every single day. So eventually it all seeps in and boom, it's like a language you can understand and speak yourself, right? That's the goal. So those are the key levels for ES. That's what I'm gonna be looking for. You can see, so on the daily, right? On the daily chart, we're technically trending up now because our definition of a trend is 1, 2, 3 closes above the middle of the Vol Pro Edge envelope, which is in green here, right? So we're technically trending up. So I expect this daily trend run up to continue. And I expect us to break through these highs because it looks to me like the weekly, wants to try to push up here like this, maybe push up here like this. We're just going to have to wait and see. And if these key levels start to break and we start to dump, fine. I'm going to have clues on the daily and we'll trade it that direction, right? I'm just going into the week with my bias. And then I let the market tell me what it's doing day by day by day using my rational methodology, right? And then I trade what I'm seeing and forecasting and planning. That's the key. So looking at the daily here, heading into Monday, what would I say to everybody? And I'm telling it to you guys now. I would say, well, there's your first weekly cluster is right in there at about 60 to, 90, call it right there, 62.90, 62.95. Well, look at the daily, right? You've got the envelope bottom. You've got the congestion. That's the range bound DML. Those are the dynamic market support and resistance levels that frame our congestion range bound trading. Well, down in here on the daily is where you have, all that weekly support coming in. Okay. So intraday, I'm going to be looking for opportunities to buy anywhere into that zone. Of course, I'll use my intraday charts to, tell me what's going on there. And then I got the same types of trading and patterns on the intraday charts, right? I use volume-based charts on Sierra charts with Vol Pro Edge. A lot of people use that. Some people use minute-based, hourly, 15-minute, 5-minute, whatever floats your boat. That's what you use. So that's what I'm going to be using on Monday with my Tradeify growth accounts, my Top Step XFAs. I'll be looking to buy down in here. And, we'll see how that goes. But look, even if the daily gets a close like that, great. What am I expecting? Am I expecting a daily trend reversal to the downside? No, I'm expecting the daily to push higher because the weekly is pushing higher, because the monthly is pushing higher. Then any pullback on the daily right now would be viewed as an opportunity for me to get long, right? So that's how we're going to be looking at ES for the upcoming week, continuing to be bullish, like the price structure we're seeing. Friday, we had the options expiration day. So, those are a bit wonky. I didn't do much trading yesterday. I got a $200 day on one of my other XFAs that I'm going to be putting in a payout request for, I think Monday evening. I need one more $200 day. That'll be another, I want to say $3,000 payout. So that'll be sweet. And then, yeah, like I said, hopefully, maybe by Wednesday or something, I should be able to put in a $12,500 payout on my Tradeify growth accounts, which would be awesome. That'd be a nice week. Pay for some groceries here in Costa Rica on the beach. Got to get out to the beach here soon, guys. It's Saturday morning. And I just wanted to get this out to all of you so I can go and enjoy the rest of my weekend with my wonderful family. Our newborn, Olivia, she's 2 months old now. Had her here in Costa Rica. Awesome. My 5-year-old Lily, she's just being a gem with her little baby sister, Olivia. Then, of course, I've got my 12-year-old Iris. She is in Los Angeles with her mother. So 3 daughters for me. Wow, really cool. All right. So here is NASDAQ. Also looks like it wants to push higher up here, maybe 24,000 level. As you can see on the weekly, if we're going to go to 24,000 up here on the monthly, which is what I think we're doing, right? I don't think this is a false breakout. I think the party's getting started here, right? If we're going to go to 24,000, well, that's up here on the weekly, right? So if we're not going to get there next week, probably not, but this weekly trend run is probably just going to continue to push higher. So we want to continue to look for pullbacks on the daily. This is what I've been harping on all week. Every day when the daily close, I look at these patterns and I give key levels and say, guys, let's look to get long here, and favor the long side. Favor the long side. I've been hammering that into everybody's heads the whole week. Favor the long side. Not that you can't make money shorting intraday. It's just if you trade on the side of the higher time period strength, you're gonna have bigger wins, you'll have more wins, and it's just not going to deplete your mental capital that much when you're not taking a bunch of stupid trades against, the higher time period bias, which in this case is long. So NASDAQ, you can see you got a lot of support coming in here, 22,993. This might be one of these things where we just do what I call a 2-bar push on the weekly. We may just open and go. I mean, we may not even come back down to these DMLs right here, this cluster of support. We may not even get there. I'm really not sure. If we do and the daily does dump, again, that's just going to be a buying opportunity to get long. We'll take it day by day by day by day. I might even upload all of these analysis videos for the YouTube channel this entire week up to the YouTube channel. So that you guys can, get a sense of how it works day by day by day. I'll probably do that. Let me see if I remember. We'll see. I'm getting old. I got to write things down. I forget. It happens. All right. So, for Monday, I'm going to be looking very, very carefully at, that cluster right there for longing. So, well, there's a nice cluster for shorting. Would I short that? No. Why do I want to? Sure, it could pick it up and dump. I get that, guys. But why do I want to take a chance shorting that against all this strength pushing up? I don't want to do that, right? That doesn't make any sense. So that's the NASDAQ. The Dow is going to be very, very similar. The members will attest that when the Dow was trading, I don't know, down here around 43,000 or something, I can't remember the exact number, 43,500. We said, the odds are very strong we're going to catch back up to these highs because NASDAQ and ES were already up there. It was I think it was down here. It was right down there. We had that beautiful weekly pullback pocket, bang, right there. And then the weekly just took off. I know some people did take advantage of that call, which is awesome. I love when everyone does that. So Dow still looking bullish, weekly trending up. There's your, your pullback right there. You've got a lot of support coming in right here on the Dow. Probably going to continue to push back up to these highs. The daily, you can see you've got a nice little pocket here. You've got some support coming in right here. So we'll see what happens. The Dow can be a little funky. Sometimes it's only 30 companies, right? Or I don't know if it's actually 30, like the S&P 500 is like 503 or 4 companies and it keeps changing. I think the Dow is 30 and stays 30, but I could be wrong. NASDAQ 100 is usually like 101, I think, or 102 companies, depending on who comes into the index, who goes out. So, you know, the Dow here, I think you could open and pick up and go like this for sure. That's probably what I'm going to be looking for. And again, if we open and dump and go down here, it's just a better buying opportunity for the next day, back up like that. So I like to trade New York. So I put out the analysis, you know, right around the daily close, 5 p.m. Eastern. I usually put it out by like 6, 7 p.m. Eastern. So you've got all the information right when Asia is basically reopening for the next day. Then we're heading plenty of time preparing for London. We do have members in, you know, Europe, Australia, around the world that trade different time zones. You got to have the analysis. You got to get ready, right? So, basically I trade New York. So I like to see what London and what Asia and London did with my analysis and my levels. And then waking up and say, okay, look, I thought this, and this was going to happen. What is happening? What did Asia do with the price action? What did London do? Bang. You know, I get my game plan formulated for the New York Open. And then I go ahead and post that in the members chat, letting you guys know what I'm seeing. So that's the way I like to roll. All right, let's go ahead and look at the Russell. Sorry, I got so many screens here. I got 7 screens. So where I'm recording my OBS software, the pause button is like behind one of these other screens because that screen is behind. So that's why when you see me go like that, I had to take a quick sip of coffee. All right, looking at the Russell 2000, we also talked about this catch-up trade. I mean, this still has a ways to go. You could see some explosive catch-up moves in the Russell. Potentially. I mean, this is looking either the rest of the month, if the other indices start to really push higher, which I think they could, you could see the Russell really, really push, or it may wait, you know, a month or so and then start to push like this. It just looks like things are pushing, guys. It really, really does. Russell weekly chart, trend run up, pushing higher. You know, you're going to have a lot of support. I think you're just looking for a pullback, something like this. So there's your daily pullback pocket. I would probably, you know, depending how low we get, but you know, something like this on the Russell, because you've got a beautiful, beautiful pocket. It makes that little V shape with the Vol Pro reaction support levels. That's what those blue lines are called. The red lines are the Vol Pro reaction resistance levels. I teach all this stuff in the course, right? And this is a crossover, and this crossover reinforces that level of the pocket support right here into the strong middle of the envelope on the weekly. So, and then you might say, well, what about these weekly dots above me? These confuse me. There's dots there. The likelihood is that those are going to break, right? Because we're bullish because of what we're seeing. So we want to, you know, look for, well, what's below us? Well, boom, true average right there, that little beige dot. You've got the middle of the envelope there, that green dot. I'm looking for those to push and power up and through those resistance DMLs and maybe try and go after that one, maybe even go higher. So that's what we're looking for the Russell, right? All right, let's go ahead and look at ultra bonds. I don't spend too much time looking at the 10-year, but I guess we can take a quick look. Sometimes they kind of, you don't see a pattern in one, but you'll see a pattern in the other, and it can be helpful to look at all of them. Well, look here at the 10-year. We have a beautiful flash pattern. My goodness. Perfect 3 sections, all these core DMLs building. I would expect the 10-year to go like this. And if the 10-year does that, rates coming down, stock market is going to like that stability in the bond market. In this case, the Treasury note market, right? These are 10-year notes, not 30-year bonds, not, you know, 2-week bills. So it looks like the 10-year wants to stabilize here. That should be good for the stock market. Those of you who trade bonds and notes, I'd be looking to play pullbacks on the daily chart because that's a strong weekly pattern. It looks very similar to the weekly pattern we saw previous week on natural gas. I mean, they're slightly different patterns. We had a pocket on natural gas, but still, it was one of these little 3-bar trend runs on the weekly that gave a great Vol Pro edge support pattern. In this case, the flash pattern with natural gas, which I'll show you when we get there, you had the beautiful pocket pattern. Neutral pocket pattern that just blasted price the other direction like we thought. And I even told myself in the week ahead analysis last week, I said, I should probably buy some natural gas stocks, right? Because the futures look like there's going to be a nice reversal on natural gas. Sure enough, that's what happened. I'm going to go, I'm still planning my stock playbook. I've traded some stocks a long time ago, and Vol Pro Edge is applicable to futures, stocks, crypto, whatever you want to trade. We've been nailing Bitcoin and Ethereum to the wall for those of you who like crypto. And so now I'm starting to expand and look at, swing trading opportunities for stocks, which is super exciting. You can see a video I did on that, printing money with Vol Pro Edge for stocks. That's on the YouTube channel. Really, I'm working up to that. I mean, this is my primary focus right now with the futures, prop firms, making money that way. But I'm excited about the potential with what you can do with Vol Pro Edge on the stock market, individual stocks, and then matching them up, especially with what we're seeing on our futures analysis, like last week with Nat Gas looking so clear. And then be like, yeah, of course I should trade. I should find some Nat Gas stocks, So that's exciting. All right, let's look at the ultra bonds. Longer end of the curve. You're in some support down here. To be fair, I mean, I did not see ultra bonds falling out of bed like this, but they did. I think I did say last week, right, when this broke that key support level there, that probably we're going to see some follow through. So got that pretty correct, which is nice. But look, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about, using the analysis, using the methodology of All Pro Edge to just tie everything together. And you're like, oh, well, the probabilities suggest that this will happen. And then if you have the probabilities on your side time and time again, you just take your shots, right? And then you have a positive expectancy. So that's amazing. All right. So I would be looking for the bonds to try to recover like this. We'll see. The daily, you can see we're trending down. Now we've entered congestion up, and based on these DMLs here, I mean, look, if these start to break, it's going to be a different story. It means we're gunning for these lows, and that pink dot, that's the extension DML because it's extended. You see how these are usually extended away from price? They're called extension dynamic market levels. When they're above you, they're resistance. When they're below you, they're support, right? So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But the 10-year looks pretty strong and stable. Gold's just been kind of a mess lately. The analysis has been really, really good on gold on every market. The Vol Pro Edge works very, very well. But when I see something like this that's a mess, I just tell everybody, hey, I wouldn't really trade it too much right now because it's not clear in terms of the higher time period bias. And why not just trade a market where the higher time period bias is clear? It's easier, right? I like to grab the low-hanging fruit, the low-hanging money off the tree, rather than try and climb up the entire tree to go get the money and maybe risk falling off and breaking my neck. That doesn't sound very fun. Just like trading these markets that are not clear to try and make money, that doesn't sound very fun. I like to make easier money when possible. Trading is never easy, obviously, but we can at least trade the clear markets and make our jobs a little bit easier to follow our plan, right? So with gold this week, to be honest, I really have no idea. Look at this weekly chart. It's choppy. It's in congestion. I mean, I would say that, if stocks are going to push higher, that's risk on, right? So maybe this congestion action here on gold, you're kind of just hanging out between the envelope bottom, envelope top, envelope bottom. Now you're back to the envelope top. You got these DMLs above you as resistance. You have some resistance here on the monthly. The monthly trend run is weakening because you're moving inside the envelope, trying to maybe prepare for a little bit of correction. We'll see. That might not happen, but you're at least losing some steam because you see how all these closes are outside the envelope, right? But then we start to move inside the envelope while we're not making new highs, right? So that's why we had a heads up that the weekly would start congesting because of what we're seeing here on the monthly chart, right? So, I mean, I would say that's a pretty nice pocket resistance pattern there on the daily. You tested and held the extension, congestion, resistance, DMLs. Those are resistance. You also tested this peak of the envelope. See the middle of the envelope? I'll go ahead and do a green line. See the middle of the envelope? It's up, it's shooting up, and then it's peaking out here like that, right? I'll do a line. That's probably better. Oh no, pen. Let's try pen. Woo, like that. And so that's coming across there. That's called the peak of the middle of the envelope. You got to watch that. It will come back and challenge those peaks sometimes. And now what else do we have? Well, we've got the core DML here. That's above us. We got the these are below you, but you got to look at these as a zone. So you got all this resistance coming across. So 30, up in here somewhere. Look, if I had to take a guess, I'd probably say gold's going to do something like that, but we'll see. I wouldn't really recommend it again because the weekly is just not super clear. Okay, so let's just wait, see what happens with gold. Silver, been bullish on, kind of funky price action this week, but look at all these DMLs here, just beautiful. Called that. Just said, look, if it tries to punch down there, for those of you who trade silver, we have some people that trade silver. That's a good buying spot down there. And sure enough, there it was. Don't always get it right, but most of the time, I would say, at least the directional bias and the key levels are really, really helpful. So, but you still got to do the job and, plan the trade and trade the plan and all that kind of stuff, right? So looking at silver here, I mean, I would expect it to continue to push higher. You got a lot of support down in here. Let's see what happens. This is kind of funky price action in here, so I would stay away from it now. But we'll follow it day by day, okay? Because I'm going to post these on YouTube this week, assuming I can remember, which I think I will remember. Look at copper. We've been staying away from copper. Why? Because this was the Trump copper tariff announcement. Boom, 50% tariffs on copper. It spiked. And after that, we've been bullish copper. But now, you can see all this inside consolidation inside that high of that daily bar and that low. That's just a stupid daily bar on copper. So I've been telling everybody, just don't mess with any. Let's let this work itself out, right? We don't need to trade copper right now. Platinum just continues to push higher, absolutely on fire, and fuego, as they say here in Costa Rica. So, I mean, that monthly still looks pretty darn incredible, to be honest. Weekly is just floating above the envelope top. You got to continue to just buy pullbacks on copper. So that was a good, you see these pockets, guys. This is why this is important. You see that pocket right there that I've been talking about? Well, there's your pocket. Boom. So keep an eye on platinum. Let's look at crude oil. Crude oil is another one of these where I've just been telling people to stay away from it for now. Why? Because again, we had that stupid move on the, when I say stupid, I just mean these over exuberant, crazy, mostly manipulated, right? Like this was the war, hey, we're all going to go to war now. Oops. No, we're not. There's peace on the table. So basically this here has distorted all of this price action here. So I'm like, let's just not even mess with crude right now. But I do like the monthly is in congestion here. So, well, I got a nice extension DML down here, $62. So if we get there, that could be a good spot, but in the middle of this range, forget about it. Stay away from crude for right now. That's what I can say. Here's natural gas. This is what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. Boom, the weekly chart. That was your flush down. You see how it challenged through the weekly core DMLs. The yellow are core. Sucked back up, closed into that pocket. You guys can see what I mean now, right? By the pocket. Boom. Okay, this is significant mathematically. When you see where these DMLs are, the pockets are, they mean something very important, right? You don't have to know what they mean. You just need to be able to recognize the patterns. It's pattern recognition, which is what technical analysis is, right? So that's why I thought that was going to drive price up. It sure did. And I do need to check some nat gas stocks, that's for sure. And you can see the monthlies just in congestion. That was also right there tagging. Look at that. That's there before the month starts, right? So I don't trade natural gas, but for those of you that do, there it is. That is sitting there waiting for you before the month starts. You start to match up the multiple time period analysis. You know the monthlies in congestion. So you expect that weekly pocket there to be strong because of where it's happening, which is right into all that monthly support at those monthly combination DMLs. It's exciting. All right. So what do we expect for this week? Well, I mean, look, I would expect continued support because the monthly is cycling between envelope top, envelope bottom like this. We touched the envelope bottom now. We should be headed back up here. So if that's the case, then I would expect weekly envelope bottom. Oh, look at that with the extension and the congestion DMLs right there. I would expect that to be strong support. So if nat gas, flushes down there on the daily, that's probably where I'd be looking to buy it, assuming what I see on the daily is something I like, and look for a push back up like that. That's how we do it. All right, we don't need to look at heating oil and gasoline. We can take a quick look at the euro. The dollar got a little stronger this week. And I would say, trending up, a little pullback here. But you see how this is the weekly chart. You challenged the extension, it held. Remember, that extension is sitting there waiting for you when this week closes. Isn't it amazing how many times it goes right to these levels? I mean, these are super, super powerful levels of support and resistance, guys, that you're only going to find at Vol Pro Edge. So I'd be looking at this core DML. I'd be looking for some support down in here. It's not something I would like, get all excited about, because if we start to break that, we could just be setting up a nice little flash pattern for next week for the reversal. But for right now, let's just keep an eye on that support level. I don't trade the euro. Some of you do. I just use it as, to get information on whether or not the dollar is strong or weak or what's going on, because that helps me kind of frame the overall scoreboard of risk on or risk off, right? So looking at the monthly chart here, we're kind of floating. It's bullish. I mean, there's going to, most likely, probabilistically, there'll be a strong weekly congestion support level here, meaning I expect the weekly that's now entered congestion, right, from this trend run up, entered congestion. I expect it to stay in congestion and break out to the upside because of what we're seeing. I don't expect a trend reversal to the downside. So that's why it's important to put the types of trading. You have 5 different types of trading, right? You've got trending markets. You've got the trend reversal. You've got congestion trading, which is range bound trading. You have congestion entrance trading when you're transitioning from the trend into the range bound, the congestion trading. And then you have congestion exit trading, is when you're in congestion and you're looking for the market to exit that range congestion zone and start a new trend. These are the 5 types of trading. They're always rotating back and forth, and you use some multiple time period analysis to anticipate the next type of trading that you think is going to happen on your preferred focused time frame, and then you trade it, right? That's how you make money. So that's what I do, and that's what I teach, and that's what other people are learning. And when I launched Vol Pro Edge, I didn't know if people were going to be able to understand what the hell I was talking about, but they are, and they're doing very, very well. A little bit of applying yourself, really working hard, asking questions, using the wonderful community as support, using me as your support, going through the course, using, there's a learning curve, but once you learn it, you never look back. Never, ever, ever look at candlesticks ever again. All right, let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just been on fire. You can see, look, here you go, guys. If you're wondering, if you were long Bitcoin on the monthly and you were wondering where to take profit, I don't know, maybe that extension that was there before the month started, that was there when this month opened right here, 120. I mean, it's incredible. And look, that one as well. Just amazing. All right. So the weekly still looks bullish. I really wouldn't expect this thing to just reverse and dump. Obviously anything's possible, but we got risk on right now overall. I'd be looking for something like that on Bitcoin. So I would expect the daily congestion support level here to be strong. Why is that the daily congestion support level? Because we're trending up, trending up, trending. Boom. Enter congestion down. Why do we enter congestion down? Because it's the first close there underneath the middle of the envelope, the middle of the Vol Pro Edge envelope there, right? That means we've transitioned from trending to congestion. That's a congestion entrance bar. In this case, it's congestion entrance to the downside, right? Well, then I take the low of that bar, right? Because I have rules for my trading system, my methodology. That's your congestion support level. Now I got to ask myself, do I expect the daily to break out of congestion into a trend to the downside, or do I expect the daily to stay in congestion and ultimately exit to the upside? Well, to answer that question, I say, well, what's the weekly doing? Well, I just told you. That's why I think the daily is going to stay in congestion, push higher, and ultimately exit to the upside. If that changes, we will have clear information, because what we would see is that this would start to break. The daily would start to break out to the downside, and it would start to close underneath key levels in the daily. If that doesn't happen, then our original forecast is probably what's going to unfold. All right. So it's wonderful. Ethereum, boy, nailed this to the wall. I wish I'd bought some Ethereum. I'm not a crypto guy. I like it. It's great. I like the idea. It's fantastic. I got nothing against it. I need to buy some, because when this was down here at the end of last month, just like the Dow, I said, and the Russell should catch up to the NASDAQ and ES. I said Ethereum was way down here when Bitcoin was breaking all-time highs. Ethereum's going to play the catch-up game, and that was right down here. So what did I tell members? I said, well, when the weekly chart here was in congestion, I said expect weekly congestion exit to the upside because it's got to catch up to Bitcoin and the monthly looks bullish. We got to get back up in here. So what do you expect? A daily trend run to the upside, because the only way the weekly is going to exit congestion up is if the daily gets into a roaring trend run to the upside. It's a beautiful situation to behold. So what do we expect? I mean, probably going to keep going higher. This is just on fire right now. I mean, we're probably at least going to gun for these extensions up here right at, but I think we're going to probably blast through those. I wouldn't short. I'm saying, want to take profit somewhere. Maybe that's a good idea, just like on Bitcoin, right? But I think we're going for that high up there, 4,200, whatever that high is on Ethereum. Yeah, right around 4,200. So I don't know if we're going there next week, but we could. This thing's looking bullish. Probably looking for something like this. I mean, it may even go higher. So any pullbacks on the daily Ethereum, I think, need to be bought aggressively. Remember, it's not financial advice. I'm just pointing things out for you. All right, I'm not going to do corn and wheat and soybeans and all that right now. They're not very clear. The meats are not clear. You guys have a great, great, great lay of the land here heading into this upcoming week. So let me know if you've got questions in the comment section below, or if you don't have questions, maybe just post something and say hi, right? It helps the channel when you guys comment, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And, most importantly, you guys don't need to help me with the channel. I appreciate it. It means a lot. And there are a lot of wonderful people that do give back and help by commenting and liking and all that. But I'm not really the one who needs the help. I'm the one sharing my labor of love, VolPro Edge, that I created and developed over many, 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 many years. And I'm sharing that with you guys to help those of you who realize that you need help. You need a roadmap. You need somebody to guide you to start getting traction with your trading, start getting consistency, and start making money and getting consistent payouts. So I am here to help you guys, and I really, really encourage you to take advantage of that. All right, so you can change your life with trading. It really is incredible. I'm going to go spend the rest of my weekend on the beach in Costa Rica, cruising around in my off-road golf cart, maybe ride my electric bike like I do every day, to neighboring beaches, just having a blast, living the dream, thanks to trading, right? Trading is awesome. Yeah. So just want to leave that there with you guys. Take care. Have a great weekend. Much love to everybody.